everyone, welcome back once again to what you know what the show is, the Iconist podcast. And the icon is today, Shin Man. But before we get into that any further, understand that I am one of your hosts, Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious. You know how it goes. Hey. And as always, the man on my side, the man, the myth, the legend, he's a moving man, he's a DJ, he's international, he do birthdays and bar mitzvahs, the whole 9 yards. My man, the man, the legend himself.
DJ Rod C.
DJ
How y'all
Rod
doing?
C.
Let's go.
So before we always got to do it, we got to play it nice. We got to turn around and pass it off to everyone else. So here it comes. First, make sure support the books, right? So Check Swings out in Montreal, can't miss them. Tell Trevor I said hi, right? Wild Comics out in Kitchener, tell Wes I said hi. And not even we said hi. Those are where places that support us and we support them. And then of course the man that makes us look so pretty all the time, the one and only Jason Reese, aka
J Bird Digital Art.
J Bird Digital Arts. Once again. You mentioned that you heard about J Bird Digital Arts on the Iconist podcast. If you need any work done, and you mention that to Jay, he'll give you the discount off the work that you need to done. That's flyers, posters, templates, any of that media, logos, anything that you personal, something commercial. He's got you. He's done it from pizza shops to this show. And he's done it from, I don't know, wrestling events and posters and logos all the way to a Touch of Gray. Touch of Gray, another group to check out. That's my group with me, Zolf Ali, and Dave Sokolowski. Woo. There we go. We standing as we stand. We moving. That's how we move.
Let's go.
Speaking of Touch of Gray, December 8th. For anyone in Hamilton, Ontario, and the surrounding area, Touch of Gray is doing a show. December 8th over at Stonewalls. Can't miss it. Come on down. It's on 339 York Boulevard in Hamilton. It's $15 at the door or $10 with a non-perishable good.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice.
You got to give back. You got to give back,
That's
right?
nice.
So it's $7.25 on domestic beer and 2 for $1 on chicken wings. So buy a pound of wings, get the next one free. So once again, it's called comedy. So the show's called All I Want for Christmas is Comedy over at Stonewalls over here in Hamilton, Ontario. Can't miss it. Anyone around, come on by. Show starts at 8:00. Doors open at 7. We'll be there. That's myself, Dave Sokolowski, Zolf Ali, some special guests. And remember, the main thing is all about, as Dave likes to say, there's a lot of good people in the world. If you can't find one, be one. So come down, $15 at the door or $10 with a non-perishable good. And if you're not sure and you're seeing this poster right now, right here, as we have it splashed up, remember, who made the poster? One more time.
J Bird Digital Art.
Wow. Thank you, Jay. And remember, there's a lot of podcasts out there. Please show them some love too. And remember, like, subscribe, share. Don't let the show be a secret. We all got a Patreon channel. Check that out. We've got, if you want to do a one-time tip, we got a coffee page, all that stuff. Let's keep it going. Man, and as you can see, the links are down below where you can find me at barry3d.com. And Rod, where can they find you?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on the World Wide Web. You can find me on the Instagram at Mr. Rod C. Okay, let me stop. Let me relax. So you can find me on Mr. Rod C. There, you can find me up in there. You can also find me on Twitch. I DJ there often, as you can hear. I play there all the time. You can find me as a DJ Rod C. You can find me up in there. Listen, I'm always having fun playing different genres and different vibes. But
Saturday
listen,
love.
Let's
Sunday,
do it.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Let's do
Friday. Saturday love.
let's do it. Come on. So listen, make sure you hit that follow button for everything that we both do. And listen, we'll make sure that you won't be disappointed at all. Let's go.
Right on. And please leave comments. We answer back. We write back. We always like to hear the feedback from everyone, and anything you have to say. We're open-minded. We're not going to bite your heads off. We like to have a good time and communicate.
Listen, we both got these extra pair of eyes. We're going to use them.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get any specs for nothing.
How do you think I got them? Reading a lot.
Right. That's what happened over all the years. So comes down. We know what the show is all about. We're talking about Action Man. Now, when we say Action Man, which Action Man are you talking about? Are we talking about Action Man, the toy figure that was the UK version of G.I. Joe and it was 12-inch? Maybe we'll touch on that for sure. Okay. Are we talking about Action Man, the IDW comic book? Maybe we'll touch on that. Sure.
Okay, we can talk about that.
We're kicking it off with Action Man, Amp It Up. The 3D animated cartoon back from 1995 by Hasbro.
That's them memories, man. Damn memories. Let's listen.
Memories, right? Like, I mean, I remember watching the show. Now, looking back and watching the show now, I'm like, what the heck? But watching it back then, let me tell you, first of all, what had my attention? It was 3D. I'm 3D. Very 3D.
Touche. I can't even come after that. I'm like, And
I was 3D before Sony TV. What? Yeah. Come on now, son. All right, here we go. So Action Man, the 3D animated cartoon, was done in 1995. The brainchilds behind this, it was Marty Eisenberg and Robert N. Skier. Okay, so these are two guys behind the Action Man cartoon, the 3D animated one. Right? So Hasbro turned around, they wanted something, and it comes with that genre of action, biopunk, cyberpunk, superheroes, got all that, those labels to it. And Hasbro made some like original toys with it. So this is where it came down to. And it's got a really interesting, unique perspective. So it was made, ran for 2 seasons, 26 episodes, had some good voice work. And, it was a Canadian USA thing. It was like Dink Productions. So a lot of people had their hands in the pot, right? The production company was Mainframe Entertainment and Saban Entertainment. Oh. Well, Mainframe, we know. Boop, boop, reboot.
That's what happened.
Right? Action Man. Highway 35 with Hot Wheels. Shadow Raiders.
Yep.
Beast Machines.
Yeah.
Beast Wars. Like we got you, Mainframe. Boop, boop. Okay, got it. But Saban, go Mighty Power Rangers.
Let's do it.
Right. And on top of it, Saban was very popular. So Saban, a lot of times in their studio, would make the theme songs for their Power Ranger shows and other shows they were associated with. So the Action Man theme song was done by Saban Entertainment. Wow. And it really says, amp it up, Action Man. So that's Saban Entertainment's influence there. And what they try to do is they try to make this guy, he was extreme sports. That's what he was. He was extreme sport athlete. And when I say extreme, I don't know who thought up these courses.
Listen, if you can dream it, they will come. And realizing, listen, this can't be physically done in natural world. We could do it in 3D. It could work. And I agree. There's certain things I watch and I'm like, could that actually work right now? Somebody might lose a knee on that one.
But it was cool though, man.
It was cool. But I might say, man, if you don't land that one properly, your kneecap gonna hurt there, boy. I'm gonna tell you. Your kneecap gonna hurt. Oh boy, poor thing.
Right, but it had a lot of things that worked for it, right? So first of all, so Action Man, that was his nickname, Action Man. His real name in the show was Alex Mann. So Alex Mann was an extreme sports athlete, and he would go around the world competing in all these extreme sports. So he would do something that he would be doing like rollerblading on top of buildings, because they'd have the course on top of buildings, to jump off there, grab a rope on the helicopter, to get swung over on this loop-de-loop kind of Hot Wheels track. And the suit he was wearing had wheels on the forearms, on his back, and underneath his shins, his calves. So he would lie down and be a human luge.
Right.
I know, what was the movie there? It was like, I think, Armor of the Gods or something like that with Jackie Chan. He did something similar to that. Right?
Yeah. I can remember the name, but as soon as you said Jackie Chan, I remember the visual.
Right, and he's going through a ton and all that. But Action Man did like loop-de-loops, and he was racing against his rival. But they had a good friendly rival, but Action Man, of course, he was always winning. He was the face of the sport, just like, Lewis Hamilton is the face of the sport of Formula One. Right. Michael Jordan or LeBron James is pretty much the face of the sport of the NBA. So we know certain athletes become the face of the sport. Alex Mann was the face of the sport of extreme games.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, he got the endorsement. So he had this plane called Big Air, which would, It had a car inside of it, and that was his mobile base. He had his, his engineer, the guy who would take care of all the mechanics and all his equipment.
Right.
You had the other person who was his agent, and you had another person. She would just film all the footage, and she was the I guess the videographer to put the clips and all his social media presence. And this is like really, if you're thinking back in 1995, they really put together what would be a plausible team if you were a big name star, like a sports star.
Right. I would also just segue back in the sense of given that realism. We've also, if anybody remembers seeing the movie Triple X with Vin Diesel, this would have been the human version to a degree of the type of action, the type of stunts, the type of daredevil, dangerous type of stuff that, like Xavier did this kind of, Xander did all this kind of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, he's a superhero. He landed like, I need your autograph. And people are like, That's literally what Action Man was for everybody. That's the title. And Barry's bringing a good point. That type of early stage was, you would think, like Tony Hawk or anybody in that type of realm in those days would have, being the athlete, he would make sure he had someone who's videography, taking pictures of all his actions.
Yes. Yes.
But having someone who's always there that you would think is in that team, but more on the outskirts, this show kind of focused to say, Action Man can't be without these people to make him who he was. But there was a great way that they made that team more visible to the crowd. They may not have known, but at least we knew that he wasn't a lone wolf in this particular type of production.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And that was it.
Exactly what it is. I mean, any athlete will have a personal trainer.
Completely.
Will have their agent, manager who's there with them, who's beside the scene. And I like that aspect. And I mean, I know the show is over the top, but when we have to look at where it's grounded, he had the key people in the roles that made sense. And that's why it wasn't like it was, 4 kids and a dog going around in a minivan trying to solve crimes. I ain't hating. I'm just saying everyone had a purpose.
We all grew up on that, and when you get old, you start to think about it. Honestly, as I'm just saying this, it's hilarious that you bring that up. Just a segue. When you think about that crew, we're not trying to say the name, so we all know who we're talking about. How often you see these guys rolling across the country doing so many things, and you're like, in my thought and process, you got to make it out like these guys are young people of a certain age and that demographic, and you just running for your life, son? No one is just kind of like keeping a tab on you. You ain't got like a call to say, Mom, we're going to be out this weekend, the band, the group, we're going to be here for a while. No type of call.
There was no mama saying mama saw, mama quest. There was no mama, no data.
But you see here that at least it's a type of accountability. You can see that there's a group, there's some type of organic type of flow of interactions in and out. And it made sense because you can look back. The point I'm saying is that later on in life, years later, we're watching the show. We can look at this and I can look at Action Man and I clearly like, yeah, that still makes sense to this day. It's still relevant. Maybe tweak it a little bit, but it can still work down. The next one you'll be like saying, those are a bunch of kids. How do they run around like that? All these questions will start opening up doors like, we need child service to be check these guys out.
Right? But that was the whole thing, was Team Extreme. They had their logo, they had their sponsorship that he had to work with. And this is what brought the whole world together in that. Right. Now, it's cool that they turned around, they had this. It's cool that they had play sets and toys that would represent and be, that work with it. So that was all smart marketing on that aspect. So I say, they get a check mark for how they put those things across. So as I said, Alex Mann is known as Action Man. That was his true name in the series. He's an extreme sports athlete, as I said, and he was on this particular network. But then what happened is, anytime Danger, Will Robinson, something would happen that would get the adrenaline pumping that, he was in a life or death situation. Truly,
Yeah.
that's what he came about his power. Is he'd start falling. In the first episode, his rival tried to slingshot. So the helicopter's going. His rival holds on to like a smokestack to stretch out that cable that he's on, the slingshot to the finish line. And it really was a Wile E. Coyote moment. He comes slingshotting it. He gets like inches. His fingers are like just a hair's breadth away from grabbing the flag. And Brandy couldn't grab it. And it was like, and of course he goes flying back, hits Action Man. Their ropes get entwined. The helicopter, the rope goes around the helicopter. It cuts. They start falling stories down to the hard concrete. Like was it Cinderella, Dana, or was it Dana Dane? Like the child hit the hard concrete, whatever that line was. Lottie Dottie, that's it.
Right.
So all of a sudden things start slowing down. Now I still like this aspect. Sometimes if you get into, and I don't wish this on anybody, and I pray this never happens to you in your life, but if you're driving and you get into a car accident, right? And I'm not saying anything fatal, but that's just the best case scenario thing I can think of. I've been in one. So you get into a car accident, or you see an accident is about to happen, your reflexes just might kick in, and everyone says the same thing. Everything just slows down. When you're in a moment like that, the adrenaline kicks up 100-fold and everything just slows down. Yeah. And you see what you have to do, or you see it coming, or you try to dodge it.
Mm-hmm.
And that it doesn't, even though it's a blink of an eye, your perception causes things to slow down. And in Action Man, he's falling to his death with Brandon. They're all tangled up and things slow down. And he looks around, and all of a sudden, a theme song comes on. Amp it up, Action Man. And he sees a mathematical equation no matter where he looks. So he looks at a building, the edge of the building, mathematical equation. And he follows the flow, and the mathematical equation is not even that it's just an equation. It's flowing like a river. So wherever he looks, it just kind of slides over. So he looks, he sees the edge of the building. Then he sees a helicopter. He sees the rope. He looks down. He sees a crane in the distance. And within that split second, even though it's slowed down for him, and for us as a viewer seeing it through his perception, his eyes, it's a blink of an eye. He's already thought of a solution. If I kick this with this amount of pressure over here and it hits this at this angle, it's going to cause this to ricochet off these two places here. That's going to cause me to bounce here, grab this, wrap around here. And sure enough, by the time everything is said and done, the helicopter drops down. It doesn't crush anybody. It's hovering like about 2 feet above the ground. Him and Brandon are all good. The worst that happened was Brandon, and that was before he amped it up. Brandon hit like a corner of a brick chimney, so he broke his leg. But that was before Action Man amped it up. Everyone walks away unscathed. Now, the AMP power stands for Advanced Macro Probability. AMP. His AMP factor.
Listen, it's such an interesting aspect, because while you're talking, it's been in my head, and I'm trying to. This is early 1990s, so I'm trying to think, have I seen something like that before? And I feel I have, but I couldn't. I still up to now I can't put my finger on it. And if anybody really does remember some kind of show or there's something similar to what Barry just explained, put it in the chat. But in the wholesome of what was just said, that concept is so for thinking in having in a cartoon. Now, it could have, again, this could have been something that might have been in an actual comic book from years ago. Could be.
Right.
That's basically that. Let's go with that. I'll be nice, throw it a grain of salt, and just say it could have been there. But that would have been just, on just 2D type of, it's just written out flat surface type of scenario. For me, seeing it visually, giving it that type of realism, that kind of texture, the context of understanding, like you're seeing it, literally, all you see in the mathematical equation just like floating in the air. And all it was is while he's doing this, the most mental hilarious is Barry is saying that is happening in a split second. Basically,
Yeah.
it's like microsecond type of scenario. Let's make it more relevant so you guys can understand. It's a second,
Yeah.
not micro. Let's just say in a second.
Right.
This is all happening. But the thing that gets me about the visual is that the visual pans from one way to another. So if you really think about it, that's a second. There's no chance I had my head waving from side to side to get a good visual of what's that. It just means that his mind has been where our perception is grabbing information at an alarming rate, consistently, constantly, always. We're not even knowing. We're taking information. Hey, I know the headphones are this far away from my head. You know what I mean? You just know. For him to be able to, for us to understand that Amp It Up is giving the what is it again? Sorry,
the advanced macro probability, the AMP factor.
Right. The probability of understanding, well, this thing is over here. The lines for holding the blade for the helicopter is on this side, coming on this angle. This is about, I'm saying the weight per se of the helicopter, but knowing that if you knock this thing on this side, hit over here, that it's going to go out there, that it's going to hit. You saw out of the perception in your eye, some big bolt, like a staff kind of bolt, something that just happened to. I'm not paying attention to that when I'm walking or running or sliding or trying to save my life as I'm flying down. But that information came in, probability came in, like do that, bam.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm safe. All in that fraction of a second. That's the part that makes you think when you look back at this show and look at how memorable it is. Because like, oh my gosh, that sounds great. But when you actually sit down and think of what the writers actually put forth in front of you, it's a very dangerous thing to think like, oh, you guys were actually thinking about this for a good minute and you guys put some good thought into Amp It Up.
Absolutely.
And it makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
So much sense.
And then it gets even crazier, right? Because so he, when he was in high school, his high school coach, Simon Gray, was the one that did experiments on him to put this amp factor into him when he was a young kid. And he couldn't remember certain things. Now, I can't remember Simon's exact role, but I know, Simon is his gym coach, but he has more ties to an organization. And this is where they put it into Alex. Right, because Alex was always athletic in high school. He figured he'd be a good candidate physically. He'd stand the process, and it didn't kick in right away because he got that, power in high school. Whatever those little nanobots were put inside of him, or in high school, and they only activated when he was a grown man, well into his extreme career, which means he never used them before until that moment, or maybe he did and he didn't recognize it. But at that moment is really when it came out to save his buddy Brandon. And grab him. So that was how Action Man starts. So if we get into some of the Action Man, and if we're looking at the cast, right, we'll go through. So you have like Action Man, okay, so that's Alex Mann, and the voice was done by Mark Hildreth, right? Then you had Grinder. So Desmond Grinder St. Clair was done by Michael Dobson, okay? And then you had Agnes Fidget Wilson, and she was done by Tabitha St. Germain. And then, so she was the videographer, right? Grinder was the one who took care of all the machines and everything there, and plus flew the plane Big Air or the helicopter. And then you had, Ricky Singh Barnes or Ricky Singh Baines. So his voice was done by Peter Kamalis. And so Ricky was the manager, which I thought, and there's more characters on there. And of course they had to fight a villain. The villain was Dr. X with his own, Council of Doom. And it's funny. So you're looking at all the voice work, and then when you look at, the actresses that played certain voices, the woman who played the voice of Fidget, for example, and I just want to confirm that if I have this right, because I think I do, and I'm just double checking here. Tabitha, okay, so Tabitha is a Canadian actress and a comedian. She's known for various roles across many different shows. and she's been doing voice work for animated series and films, video games, commercials since 1985. But I think that she's related to a particular singer, and I'm going to look this up to see who her dad is, and if I'm right, I'm going to be, going, oh wow. But she's done a lot of work. If you're looking at it, you're looking at, the My Little Ponies. Okay, let's keep going on. Nerds and Monsters, Nina's World, The Nutty Professor, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, Packages from Planet X, Pirate Express, Pocket Dragon Adventures, Polly Pocket, and all that. Wow. Popeye's Voyage, The Quest for Pappy, Ratchet and Clank. Okay,
ooh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, she's done the voice for a lot of stuff. She's done the voice for Voltron Force, The Legend of Zelda. Okay. Man, it just goes on and on and on. So, as I said, there was a lot of great action, voice actors on this project without doubt, and that's what I'm looking at. And for Action Man, I just thought that the team wise, I liked it. Their machines, their vehicles, and all that, I thought it was really cool. And the fact that they made them, I was happy with that. So I was all hooked. Now, okay, it goes from a guy who's doing extreme sports, fighting, a super villain, so to speak, because his villain, Dr. X, approaches, Action Man. He approaches Alex, he approaches Brandon and says, hey guys, I can make you better. And Alex is like, oh, I don't need that. But Brandon is like, I'm tired of playing second fiddle. He reaches out to Dr. X and kind of gets some nanotechnology in him and kind of puts him over the edge. His anger goes, he hulks out. That's literally what he does. His body changes, he hulks out, he tries to kill Alex. It's the whole thing. And that's part of the storyline of trying to cure Brandon, and then of course trying to get Brandon's body back. And then Dr. X has kind of cured his body, and then Dr. X at one point, was able to mimic, almost steal Alex's power of the amp power, and that gave them, both enhanced speed, strength, perception, that amp factor. So it was nice to see how they played that out. And they brought in, Alex's dad. So I like the series overall. And as you put it, it's if you take Xander from Triple X, we're not that far off. The two of them can hang in the same world. If Xander was a cartoon, I would expect, Xander / Triple X to be with Action Man. And if Action Man was live action, then it would be within that same world. Like, everyone's always trying to do crossovers. That would be it. Because they're both extreme sports stars with a unique ability, or the peak of their abilities for what they do, working for a government agency to stop evil. But let's keep it with Action Man. Action Man was a super soldier.
Listen, that's an easy way of, you can say he was a super soldier.
He was a super soldier.
Due to the whole setup, he definitely was. He definitely was. That universes and in the realm of that universe, he would have definitely been one of the top tier super soldiers, serum injectors, nanobots. Right there. It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah.
All right. Did I say that 3 times? All right. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there.
Exactly. You can't go wrong. That's super soldier. And the fun part about Action Man, now Action Man, even though we're seeing this and we're talking about the 1995 version, the 3D animated cartoon that was by Mainframe Studios,
right?
Action Man existed way beyond that, as I said in the intro. Right? Action Man came out first and foremost to be the counterpart of G.I. Joe, greatest American hero. Right? And exactly, when I'm saying G.I. Joe, I don't mean G.I. Joe 3/4 inch is a team of G.I. Joe. I'm talking original G.I. Joe, right? Colton Joe. The G.I. Joe, the one who is it Colton Haynes or whatever, the original one, the one where it was 12 inches. He had the real beard, and his action team. Action Man was the UK version of G.I. Joe with a fully articulate body, multiple outfits he can put on.
Right.
an ambiguous look. So this way he can just kind of blend. The only difference is that on the UK side, you got Action Man. It was Action Man. Action Man as a scuba diver, Action Man in the Army, Action Man in the Navy, Action Man as Air Force, astronaut, adventurer, whatever it is, Action Man. With G.I. Joe in North America, yes, there was a white doll that was, clearly G.I. Joe. And then they had a black one. And then, so they made different ethnics and races. So that's the only difference. But let's cut it down, right? Because G.I. Joe went from a 12-inch doll to a 3¾ inch figure, right? That was a team. Okay. Action Man went from a 12-inch doll down to a 3¾ figure, which was Action Force, which is the equivalent once again to G.I. Joe. Okay. I think Action Man was a little bit of a mix between G.I. Joe and I would say even Big Jim for how they had his adventures.
Okay.
That's my feeling about it. That's he did double duty, but if you go across the pond, so to speak, and you mention Action Man, Action Force, woo, you about to sit down, you about to hear a whole lot of stuff going on. They going to talk to you till your ear falls off and you don't know. And a lot of people don't realize how popular that is. It's popular it is for us to have G.I. Joe and fan sites and movies and all that.
Right.
Action Man's just waiting in the wings. And to tell you, Action Man, one of the G.I. Joe runs, I think in IDW, Action Man does make not Alex Mann, but the original Action Man does make a crossover into the G.I. Joe comic books at one point.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot there. But then again, so much history. It's just, I think they missed the market because if they do it over in the UK, Action Man will outdo G.I. Joe in a minute, in my opinion. But here in North America, it's the other way around, right? So with that, I know at one point I was collecting the Action Man IDW comic book, which was different than the TV show, but still using Action Man. And with IDW, when they were doing it, is because Hasbro was pushing their whole world. They were making the Hasbro universe. So that's G.I. Joe, Transformers, Rom the Space Knight, and Action Man, along with Mask and Micronauts. And we've done G.I. Joe movies, we've done Transformer movies, and they wanted to bring in a Micronauts or a Rom movie, and that was the next step. But Action Man's waiting in the wings for his moment. The difference is that Action Man went from being a soldier, being an extreme star, to the comic book where Action Man was a spy.
Yeah.
Did you read those books?
I trying to recall. I know in the searching for this, I did come across the IDW version, and I do recall seeing that. There were more of the later ones,
right?
So I did see a couple. I was like, I remember seeing a couple. I was reading the first two issues, and I'm like, yeah, I think you and I, honestly, on a side note, I think you and I have had this conversation years ago, because I do remember I'm looking at this, I'm reading, I'm like, I think I've seen this before, and it would have definitely been directed by you for me to check this guy out. So
yeah,
in early days of life, no, I don't recall that, honestly. But in recent years, yeah, I know I've definitely had looked onto Action Man at some point.
Hell yeah. Because it was a lot of fun, especially when I saw that what Hasbro's trying to do with IDW and go from there. But I mean, the voice actors on the show was a lot of fun. And even the creators of the show. So there's two creators, as I said before, that were on the show. Saban Entertainment made the theme song. And then, for example, let's look at Marty. And if we click on Marty, so sorry, I was looking up something before, and I thought that Phil Collins had a tie to one of the actresses that were one of the voice actresses that are on the show Action Man.
Oh, that's why you're making that. Okay, yeah.
Like, I'm like Phil Collins, like Genesis Phil Collins. And I guess got to verify. So maybe I'm looking at the wrong actress, but I know he's related to one of them. He's the dad. Go figure, right? Small world. So, and it's in, let's look at Marty. And Marty, of course, at this time, he's worked on a lot of shows. So this is why you could see the influence, right? So he's worked on Beetlejuice, Little Shop of Horrors, Batman, the animated series. We miss you, Kevin Conroy, right? Dog City. So X-Men, the X-Men cartoon, Spider-Man, Battletech, the animated series. So I'm not going through all of them. I'm just going through the ones that really pop out at me. Superman, the animated series, The Mask, the animated series, Mighty Ducks, Extreme Ghostbusters. Holy crap. Godzilla, the series, Beast Machines, Action Man, which we're talking about, The Mummy, Danny Phantom. Here's one I always enjoy. Jackie Chan Adventures.
Jackie!
One more thing. Legion of Superheroes, the 2007 show, which I enjoyed very much. And I know they're doing another one and I'm but the Legion of Superheroes show, I like that. And then, of course, he did, films. So in his films was Hulk, Where Monsters Dwell, Ben 10, Destroys All Aliens, and Atlantis, Milo's Return. But he's done way more than that, of course, Transformers animated. So that's just his body of work.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were definitely onto something. I mean, and the two of them were partners that worked on stuff together, and they worked on some stuff separately. So even when I'm looking at Robert, for example, Robert was behind, one of the writers on Gargoyles.
Yeah, Steve. Okay.
Along with some of the other stuff, Tarzan and Jane, that goes on. So Action Man, to me, can this be brought back to some degree? Sure. Which one do we want to bring back? I don't know. All. Yeah.
We'll work our way to that. Would they allow us?
Okay. Yeah. So let's put it this way. Action Man, the 3D animated cartoon series that we started talking about here, that was done in 1995.
Yeah.
It did 2 seasons. At the end, it was like Dr. X turned around and he got like he wanted to destroy most of the people on the earth and then come back and rule what was left. So he made a machine that was pulling an asteroid towards Earth that caused some mass destruction. And this is what Alex had to get in there, Action Man, stop him. And this is when he had his powers, and it was like a good one-on-one fight. And then at one point, Dr. X throws out like an energy ball. It was like, and he almost did the pose like Street Fighter, like a Hogan. Right, of course, stop. But it ended the series saying, "Oh, he's gone." And even Alex turned on, was like, "Yeah, he's defeated now, but he'll be back." I'm like, "Oh, season 3, here we go," which we never got.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get more in on Alex's parents, his origin, and maybe the rest of the team's backstory a little bit more than what they explored within the show.
Right.
So could the show work now? I think so. You got all the key elements around it for it to work. You're watching it right now might seem a little bit dated or go, what the heck are you watching? But understand, this is 1995. The time this was cutting edge to what we have now. So I see it come back now. And I know there was like a kind of a one-shot movie called Robots Attack. But, Action Man looked completely different. He had a totally different team. And it was more the hero, I guess, war hero kind of thing, but still the same Action Man logo. So I would like to see, how they did Voltron there on Netflix and brought it back for us another couple of seasons and tied up all those loose ends. If you had to do the 3D animated cartoon, I would say bring it back. Let's get a little bit more deeper with it, have some fun with it. Right. Maybe not so much over the top with their extreme sports. Tone it down maybe a little bit, make it a little bit more realistic. I know it's a cartoon, but that's just my flavor on it. That's where it would go. And then, and I'm not even going to change anybody. Bring back the same voice actors. They're still there. They're still working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Facts.
So that's my point. And then for the comic book, the IDW one, they never gave Action Man a proper ending. Like you see, in the IDW one, you see Action Man and he's the person we're following is the sidekick, not the main hero. The main hero is very calm, like a James Bond kind of character. At one point, he sacrifices himself to save the world, and he's on board of a rocket that's going to destroy. And the whole time, he just has this very simple smile, like almost like the Mona Lisa. He doesn't show no he doesn't scream, he doesn't panic. He just gets in there and he's like, Action Man. He's like, you're Action Man now. This is my last mission. And he just goes off and he's just so cool under pressure. It's almost unnerving how cool he's under pressure. So in the comic book, you realize that Action Man is not a person; it's a title that's passed on to the next person.
Yeah.
And this guy who was working for that agency, like MI6 or kind of thing,
Right.
He's now saying, "Wait a minute, I'm the next in line to be Action Man, but I'm a goof." Everyone looks at him and it's like, "Great, we there goes James Bond, and we're left with Johnny English."
Oh good gosh.
But he steps up bit by bit.
Yeah.
He steps up. He gets a little bit more serious. His skills come into play, and you see what all the things he has to do in the Action Man comic book. And I think that IDW run was really good. And would I want to see maybe that version come in as a spy version, especially if Hasbro wants to do something? I think if you're going to do Action Man to wrap it up in Netflix streaming series, go with the 3D animated one. If you want to do something within the Hasbro universe and have a movie, then to me, you have to do the spy one. That's my 2 cents, Rod.
Okay. I like what you're going. I definitely, let's this way. I agree with the animated aspect of it, and then kind of like pulling away from the 3D aspect. Again, nowadays 3D is not going to really be cutting edge for people. You might as well just give some anime type of visual. Again, we both Voltron, Legendary Defender is the latest iteration up there, which is also paired off from Thundercats, latest variation. It's the same.
Yeah, right.
It's the same company that handles that. I would definitely like Action Man to be viewed in that particular manner. Now, what I would like to do is kind of like, although you're kind of separating having an IDW, having a comic version, having a spy version,
right,
and then having that, I would like, if possible, to combine it both, but have different iterations. So my thoughts is having it like, okay, so how I having it is that, yes, early in his days, they do some kind of flashback later on, a couple of episodes, and you do a flashback, and that he was injected with the nanobots from his coach. It never kicked in till later on. So we're now going on the cartoon animated version aspect of it. We're pulling that type of thing. He's turned into an extreme athlete. That's his known. Everybody knows him as that, whatever the case be. And he's making himself getting better. He got into that level. So he's at the top of his career at that point. Right?
Yes.
I would like him to be, the helicopter scene kicks in. And he doesn't know it. He doesn't sing out the word amp it up, but the flow chart comes in. The mathematical question comes in. What the France is going on type of scenario? He catches and does whatever. Like, did I do that? Again, basically like the cartoon. After the first 2, 3, he's like, wait a minute. It really wasn't luck. I literally hit it at the proper time to do whatever.
Right.
So now he has his team along that line. Finding out. Flashback to that coach, aka that wasn't really a coach. That was really MI7. Let's just call it. We won't go 6. We'll go MI7.
Deep.
Injected his boy, like saying
a level deep.
Little deep. We're gonna go with oh my goodness, it just hurt me that I thought of it. There's another show. Basically, a son picked up the role of his father. Anyway, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, the point is that you find out that they've been watching him for so long, waiting for his nanobots to kick in. When they kick in, they realize that, just like Rafiki, it is time. All right, out of the shadows, Alex, are you okay? Now we start turning. We're turning into the
secret agent.
Secret agent. Well, this is it. And then how do we get the secret agent? We're just gonna be easy to just say it. Hi. You don't know who I am. under director of MI7. Insert word now. MI7. I got an initiative for you. But
wow. Okay. So you use the sports part, like the extreme athlete, as a cover.
It turns into a cover. That's the part. I didn't want to say when I brought it up. I will just say that's his life, whatever the case to be.
Right,
then it's
right,
going
right.
to turn in like saying, Alex, listen, we're going to need you for secret agents and whatever the case to be. You're going to be trained. And now, just as not to make you feel bad, but you see your team around you. They're part of our team. What? Yeah, we've been covering you for how many years? We let you do what you got to do and just maybe either give it a nudge or we let you, you're extreme. That's you. That's not us. Yeah. That is you. That's your own muscles. You get sore at the end of the night. That's you.
I like that.
But they cover you. And now it's basically saying, Alex is in. Okay, you ready? Alex is in. Okay.
Amp it
cool.
up.
Amp it up. Now we're going to somewhere, whatever the case is, we got a secret mission over here. We need something done over there. Big event going on in that area. Cover story. Then he does whatever he has to do. And then at night, he's amp it up. Action Man. The night version. Intertwine both. I honestly think that if that could be written in that particular type of style, because at this point now he's an extreme player. He knows what he's doing, whatever the case to be.
Yeah, right.
Now we're gonna flip him back to, in a sense of the IWD second or the new action. I don't know what I'm doing as a secret agent. We're going to train you because we already had the team. You trusted me before. You trusted the team already before for everything else. Now I can tell you, Alex, I wanted to tell you for years how to do things. But because you weren't an agent, I couldn't tell you. Now that you're an agent, let me tell you what you got to do.
See, so that gives me vibes of I Spy. So the original I Spy TV show that had Bill Cosby in it.
Okay.
Because the original TV show with I Spy, I can't remember the other actor's name, and I'll look it up.
Dick Van Dyke.
Okay, thank you. So it's Dick Van Dyke and Bill Cosby. And Dick Van Dyke was the secret agent, and then he was with Bill Cosby. And Dick Van Dyke, I think his cover was he was a tennis player. You're right.
Yeah, he was a tennis. Yeah.
Bill Cosby was a tennis player, and Dick Van Dyke was like his manager. That was their cover, right? When they did the updated version of I Spy, Eddie Murphy took on Bill Cosby's role, and he just changed from tennis player to boxer.
Right.
Who's going to get past international borders without an issue? A sports athlete.
And this is where it works smoothly along that line.
Yes.
That it can work out. Because I want also the fact that you're going to see him learn and just we want some episodes where he just turns in. He's not a goof, but he's a goof when he's being a spy because he's learning. These are techniques that now they're not muscle reflexes anymore. Now he has to learn a new muscle. He has to learn a new memory aspect of how to do things. And now that he has the power to amp it up. Oh, I never thought of doing that. This is Reboot. Amp it up.
I like that. That makes sense because that reminds me of a TV show I used to watch called Cover Up. And it ran for like one season until, there was an accident. The guy who he was playing around with a gun on set. Even though it had blanks, he was playing Russian roulette and kind of,
Stackers.
So, sorry to hear that, but
yeah.
Right. These things happen. Got to be careful in life. But the premise of it was he was a secret agent and he went around as the cameraman following these models that he would work with. And the models were truly models. So they would go to different areas around the world for the photographer to take pictures of them for like stuff like Sports Illustrated and Rolling Stone and Vogue magazine. Because when you're taking pictures, they don't just stay here on North American soil. They'll go around the world and say, "Oh, we want to get this sunset in, down in Mexico, or on this peninsula over here," right? So he would go with them, and it's like, "Who are you?" They say, "Oh, you're this supermodel. You're that swimsuit model. You're this runway model. Who are you?" "I'm the cameraman." "Oh, okay."
No questions.
That was his cover up. Right. And that was a play because, cover up makeup, but he was the secret agent. So when they were there posing and going to all these galas, he would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm just hanging out. Okay. I just got to go in this back room and off, do his stuff, come back in. Hey, how's everything going? Okay, cool. Take a couple of pictures of the models. Yeah, I'm their photographer." So I see what you're saying, man. Amp it up. Okay. I like it. right? And just to give you a couple of tidbits here to everyone listening and watching. Action Man, to show you how far back this goes, 1966. Woo. That there is even older than me because I even wasn't around that time. So here we go. Amp it up. So very simple. This is just more of a fun episode of a show. If you want to know where to catch this show, I'm sure that you can find around. And if you look on YouTube where we are, you will find season 1 and 2 of Action Man on Tube of You.
Right.
I don't know if it was ever released on DVD, but if you get the original toys from the UK, that were the counterpoint, the G.I. Joe, great pieces to have to your collection. If you can get the Action Man 3D animated cartoons that tie into the TV show that we were talking about here back in 1995, those are fun pieces to have to your collection for sure. I know they never did the Secret Agent one from IDW, which was a shame. And if they did, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know everything about the toy world, but it's something to look into. And I would say go to your local comic book store, get those issues. I think it's only like anywhere from 7 to 9 issues they did of Action Man before they kind of stopped the run. So they stopped it before the whole.
It was 4.
It was 4 of Action Man?
I think they did 4 on that one.
Really? I thought it was more. Okay, you see?
Yeah. It was unfortunately it was a short-lived one.
Yeah.
And it was like, really?
Oh, you know what it is? Okay, so it was 4 issues, but then of course he crisscrossed when they did a couple of issues where they had like Action Man teaming up with Rom, teaming up with,
Oh, okay.
So that's it was what was it called? It was, I think it was a IDW, they called it like Revelations, like it was Transformers Revelations or G.I. Joe. So this is where they would crisscross. So there's a couple of issues that you would see Action Man in there. Fun read. Fun read. I like the art. The pacing of the story was good, and the growth of the character. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So on this note, are we fan casting anybody? No. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Bring back the actors. Bring back all the original actors. Let's have that as the same goes. Put a pin in it. Put the actors' names on there. The voice actors I'm talking about. Bring them back. Let them continue where they left off, and let's see what they are. I like Rod's idea. Instead of me splitting it, I like his idea of combining it, like Transformers, to put it together. So that's my 2-piece. Rod, any last words before we wrap it up?
Listen, everyone, we thank you for being with us today. Just make sure you like. If you like what you heard, make sure you hit that like button. Every like is greatly appreciated. If you liked it a lot, hit subscribe. If you subscribe, it's greatly appreciated as well. Listen, if you really like and you subscribe it, let a friend. Let your people know. Let your people know what's going on. I'm saying. Listen, make sure you make sure you share this with everyone, not only on YouTube, but on all our different point of contacts, Spotify, everything along that line. Listen, we're out here, we're having fun. We want to make sure you're having fun with us, and let's do this.
Absolutely. So remember, this is like, YouTube. The videos drop every Tuesday, 10 o'clock our time here in Toronto. And then the audio drops on where you get your podcast from all streaming services, 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. Like, subscribe, and share. As I always like to say, this whole world was created by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming.
Let's go. Amp it up.
Amp it up. Action Man. Why is it all so slow?
I'm thinking, that's right.